Hey everybody, Steve here. I'm down at WPFW. I'm about to go in the studio to give everybody an update on the progress that we're making in our quest to establish some job services and training for the homeless in the shelters. Shortly I'll be going in there and bringing you up to date, so stay tuned.
And I'm joined now by Steve Thomas, who's Director of Community Development for Streets. And thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
And tell us about Streets. What is it?
Well, Streets is a movement, Dave, of the homeless population here in the District of Columbia, where we strive to reach, educate, and transform self. I want to thank WPFW for having me on again.
Sure.
You guys seem to be willing to allow a small person like me get the word out.
Well, I don't know how small you are. Our radio listeners can appreciate the irony in that.
But we're here today to discuss job training and services for the homeless. And we've been making an effort, we're on a quest to bring these services to the homeless population, but we want the city to help us into bringing these services directly to the shelters. Mm-hmm. This all came about several months ago. The mayor, along with the Department of Employment Services, implemented a project empowerment type job services program over at DC Jail. Where inmates that have 30 to 60 days before their release are privy to job training and job placement before they get out of jail.
Really important.
Yeah, and it's very important, and I'm not knocking that opportunities for inmates. But we in the homeless community, as an advocate for the homeless, we've been looking for these sort of services for years. In the homeless communities. And what we're looking for is the same service. We want the same program offered to the inmates in DC Jail to be offered to the homeless in the shelters around the District of Columbia.
If it's good enough for someone that's committed a crime, then it should be good enough for a homeless person.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would think so. People have their own way of putting spin on things, so of course you have it out there that people are thinking, so what I need to do, go to jail?
Right.
Go to jail for 30 or 60 days and I can come out with a skill and a job.
Right.
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 We're not endorsing that type of behavior now, but it does seem ironic that you get a better chance, a better shot if you're incarcerated.
Right.
Than you do if you're not.
So you're saying that you would like the district, the government, to go to the homeless shelters to give the training, the consulting that those folks need, versus them having to go into a center somewhere in the city?
Yes, because we've currently started talks with department heads at Department of Employment Services. In particular, we've been in conversation with a special assistant to the director, Mr. Clinton LeSure. And Mr. LeSure has informed us of the underutilization of the one-stops here in the city. So in learning of this,
why don't you tell folks that aren't familiar with the one-stop is what now?
One-stops are the job service centers here throughout the city. There's currently two main branches, which are at Franklin Street and Naylor Road, and then there's like 4 satellite offices where you can go in for to sign up for project empowerment, job services, and things of that nature.
I think you can do your unemployment.
And you can also do your
That's why they call it one stop.
One stop, all your services are in one place, and that's good for the general population, but the homeless population tends to have several other barriers. The homeless population is dealing with, a lot of times, with the way they dress, with the way that they smell, with the luggage that they carry, and the one-stops are not equipped to be sensitive to
Right.
the needs of the homeless
Right.
population.
So how is the city responding to this? Are they open to the idea of going to shelters or resistive?
Well, we don't really know where the city stands right now. Like I said, we're in communications with DOES. Matter of fact, just recently, as I think like yesterday, we just finally got an email from the director himself, because up until now we've only been dealing with his proxies. So there's still things we want to talk about. We have suggestions on how to implement this this program, and hopefully we'll move forward in this debate.
And is there a place where people can get more information about this issue?
Well, you can always go to www.betterbelievesteve.com,
And that's you.
and that's me, and
Better Believe
I'll
Steve.
keep you updated.
Better believe he's
weekly.
gonna do it.
And you better believe that.
That's right.
All right, everybody, that was that. It was only 6 minutes, but we got it out there. I didn't get to say all that I wanted to say, but right after viewing this, we'll show you the video that I did a couple of days ago before I got the letter back from Joseph Walsh. Oh, you didn't know I got a letter from Joseph Walsh, did you? Well, we'll talk about that next time. But to get completely brought up to date, just check out this. Hey everybody, Steve here. You know, the last time we talked, I was talking about my crusade to bring job services and training to the homeless shelters, similar to that in which the mayor has over at DC Jail. Well, I'm here today to give you a short update on how that's going. Now, I know already some of you are wondering, well, Steve, you were talking about bringing job services and training to the homeless shelters. What are you doing in front of a one-stop? That's a good question. What am I doing in front of a one-stop? You see, I called for a meeting with Mr. Joseph Walsh, the director of the Department of Employment Services, to talk to him about maybe incorporating some job services and training at a homeless shelter. And he seemed pretty enthused about the idea at first. But then within a week or two, upon me continuing to email him on this suggestion, all of a sudden he wouldn't talk to me. Now, I don't know what's going on with that. You can draw your own conclusions. But he sent me to Clinton LeSure. He used to be a special assistant to our Honorable Mayor Fenty. But now he's an assistant to Mr. Joseph Walsh at DOES. And so every time we talk to somebody at DOS, we talk to Mr. LeSure. Now, we've had a meeting, and he brought together his team of DOES directors, director of project empowerment, the director of apprenticeships, and several other people that he brought to the table, which was quite impressive. And as a matter of fact, I trembled a little bit when I saw the list of the people that he was bringing to the table, because it's just Steve, you know, homeless advocate. You know, I don't present a big challenge to those folks, and they really thought, I think they thought they was gonna be able to shoot me down and shut me up pretty quickly. But I reached into my toolbox, and I want to thank that everybody that showed up at that meeting with me. I want to thank the office of Councilman Marion Barry, and I want to thank the office of the legal clinic of the homeless, and a couple of homeless advocates. I'm not going to get into names or anything, but I just want you to know that when Better Believe Steve showed up at that table, that the homeless community was properly represented. And we had a little back and forth with people. Now, Mr. LeSure, he seemed to be stuck on one-stops. Why should we have job training and services at homeless shelters when we have these one-stops? These one-stops are lovely places for normal people, for the regular community. But how about the special needs of the homeless community? How are they going to deal with 20, 30, 40 people coming in with 2, 3 bags of luggage? How are they going to deal with somebody that may not have been able to get a good night's sleep and couldn't get in the shower by 7:30 before they got kicked out and may have a little odor with them? How are they going to deal with people whose reading and writing skills are not quite up to par? How are they going to deal with people who aren't quite computer literate? Because you see, one-stops were created to address the population that were computer literate, that could pretty much do everything on their own with a minimum of help. One-stops were not created for the special populations, like the handicapped, like the people with mental illnesses, like the homeless. But Mr. LeSure used this word over and over again. He kept using this word, underutilized, underutilized. The one-stops are underutilized. So as he wouldn't get off of the one-stops, he was totally against bringing this job services and training program to a shelter. Totally against it. Now remember, I said Mr. LeSure was totally against it. I don't have no idea what Joe Walsh thinks, you know, because my only line of communication to Joe Walsh is through Clinton LeSure. Okay. Now, through a couple of hours of discussion, he would say something about why we need to use the one-stops, and we would tell him a reason why one-stops wouldn't be acceptable, unless they were really willing to reconstruct or rearrange a one-stop to meet the special needs of the homeless community. How about a little sensitivity training for the employees so that they are trained not to turn their nose up or turn their back on or just totally humiliate a homeless person that's trying to get a job, that's trying to learn how to work on the computers, that's trying to enhance his reading and writing skills through a GED program. All of this stuff, one-stops are not equipped for, not for the special population of the homeless. So we went back and forth on this, and when we left Mr. LeSure and the Department of Employment Services with 2 suggestions. Our 2 suggestions to DOES was either give us a pilot program within 1 man and 1 woman shelter with job training and services, or reconstruct an existing one-stop that would be equipped to handle the special needs of the homeless population, which is in Washington, D.C. is a vast population. We're talking anywhere from 4,600 to over 6,000 individuals here. So we're not talking about 50 or 60 people. We're not talking about something that's you can pull off in a week or 2. We're talking about a long-term plan that's going to ensure that the homeless population has an equal opportunity at jobs as the regular population in this city. And that's what we want. We want at a minimum, at least the same opportunities as our brothers and sisters that's incarcerated over DC jail. We're not asking for no more, okay? Why can't the people over in the jails wait until they've served their sentences and then they come to a one-stop? I mean, if one-stops are being underutilized, but Mr. LeSure tells me that DOS is in no way considering starting another one-stop-like program when the one-stops that we presently have are underutilized. Well, what did you do over DC jail? You created a one-stop-like program over DC jail that inmates are privy to before they've even served their sentence. Okay, so you tell me, why is the homeless population different? Why is the homeless population looked at as less than the inmate population? Y'all answer me that, because I don't understand. I don't understand. You know, I just came up with a wonderful idea. Let me tell you what we're gonna do. Under my video blog, there's a box that says leave a comment. And I encourage everybody to leave a comment. But what we're going to insert into this blog for the purposes of this project that we're into right now, we're going to create another box. And this other box, when you hit the button, it's going to send an email directly to Mr. LeSure, a special assistant to Mr. Joseph Walsh at DOES, and it's also going to send an email to me, Better Believe Steve. This is very important. Today is Monday. Let's say by close of business on Friday, I'd like to see a long line of comments and suggestions on how we can do this. Either how we can bring the services to a shelter or how we can incorporate the necessary added services to an existing one-stop that will serve the needs of the homeless community. Serious inquiries only. Mr. Joseph Walsh, or even you, Mayor Finchie, you guys come to the table and tell us something. Don't ignore us. Please don't ignore us. We've been ignored far too long. On behalf of myself and everybody at Streets, God bless you. And remember, you better believe Steve.